that there are some things about this industry that are actually really fun to deal with. And if someone has a need for multiple inputs in their life, the food business is definitely one thing, because we can do so many things in this industry. And then if you find that you're good at one part, there's someone that can make enough money to most places. You can find a deal that you love.
Thank you for listening to Serves You Right. My name is Andrew, and today we get a chance to sit down and talk to THom Harrison. There is essential tension throughout today's episode. To sum it up, most people think that the food industry is a dead end. THom and I do not. THom explains how kitchens, restaurants, led him into systems thinking, to leadership, to leverage. THom is also a big believer in the fact that restaurants and service itself, it's such a huge space, everyone has to eat, that everyone can find some role that fits them. So there's a spot for everyone on the bus. Super fascinating conversation. I had a great time talking to THom, getting to know him. I hope you enjoy it too. Before I get any messages, THom does like to spell his name with the T and H capitalized, so that is not a typo. And if you have not, please subscribe to the show. It makes me happy. All right, without any further ado, here's THom, and thank you for listening to A Serves You Right. Yeah.
So we'll go with that.
I was going to ask the TH capitalized in your name. What's the deal with that?
It's meant to be, and it is.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I saw it several places, so I assumed.
It is. Yeah. It's a. So we'll do the quick story, because we're kind of warming up our voices and all. That I had as a goal to be an architect. My uncle was an architect, and looked fun. I was one of those kids that was always drawing. You get me in. So I was in art and marketing and all that sort of stuff. And I began writing my name, Thomas Harrison. And it's like that long on the page. And so I started writing it Thom, T-O-M-H, period. Just a Thom H. It was like, and I did it legitimately for when I was signing things for artwork and for little exhibits and, typical art people stuff that they will know what that is. And a marketing teacher in ninth grade, man, think about ninth grade, how mentally where we are, said that he saw a fellow that was spelling his name. He was in California, and he saw a guy that was spelling his name T-H-O-M, like Thomas, T-H-O-M-A-S, T-H-O-M, but it had a lowercase h. And he said, what I think you should do is take the capital H from your last name and move it into your first name. So it's T-H. So it's also my initials, but it has T-H-O-M. And Andrew, I will tell you that I will see people 20, 30, 40 years that I haven't talked to. They're like, you're that dude. You got that H. What the hell is that all about? And I still, at 61 years old, I get teased about it, Andrew. Like, oh, THom and Thom and Tom with an H. But people remember it. So it's a weird connection.
Well, it's enough of a pattern interrupt that you notice it without being destructive of the message. It was one of those things. I was like, was this a typo? And then I saw it somewhere else. I was like, it can't be a typo twice, and, okay.
It did. So that's where it came from. And I think that it has. And one of the reasons I enjoy even people asking me about it is because it is part of what framed being that age, and having to endure people saying things to you about your name. I have so much sympathy for people that have names that are hard to pronounce or interesting to do, because it makes one resilient, I think, or maybe anti-fragile, if they can get through it. Because as we get into the restaurant world, that there's no ego that cannot be smashed in our world. There is no, you got to have that's what you say, got to have the thick skin.
Sure. Yeah. No, my best friend in high school was named David the Fade, and he's Welsh. So it was Dafydd. And so I got to see him every class every year, the first of the class, the teacher go through the name call and then get to his name saying, "Hmm, divided," it's like every time I know it's coming, he knows it's coming. But
It's
it did make him, I think, a far more gregarious person than he would have been
I can see
because
that.
he knew every interaction he has to go for it. He has to explain himself, and then he already has something to talk about. Someone's interested, and yeah, is yeah.
It
I'm sure he
yeah,
hates it and loves it in equal
oh, yeah,
measure.
I'm sure that he was yeah, I feel for him on that. That's a, that's a name we and, just as a laugh, remember I told you Andrew, my son, our, youngest, his name
Mhm.
is Patrick, and we were going to name him Padrig, Padraig, which is a very well,
Mm,
a very popular Scottish, name, and we actually sat, Andrew, and thought, "What is he gonna go through Padraig," even though now there's a very famous golfer named Padraig Harrington. So I
mhm.
think he would have weathered it, but I think he turned out better with Patrick just to keep it just to keep it level.
Sure. And you gotta think there's gotta be a lot of abbreviations and nicknames from Patrick, like like Patty and like things that you probably don't
Oh
want
yeah.
a young boy to be called, like
Yeah, and we
something to
still do,
scar him.
we still call him yeah, we still call him patio furniture, same same sort of thing. So
Uh, that's awesome. All right, last name related story, I promise. One of
oh,
my
you're
favorite
good.
things of college, first day, I showed up and we're doing everything, getting all of our books and organizing and everything. And my last name's Roy.
Mhm.
And the guy who is checking me in and getting me my dorm room, he's like, "Is it Andrew Roy or is it like Waugh, like Patrick Waugh?" And without
Ah,
thinking, I just said, "It's like Wah." And I went by that nickname for my whole time in college. So if you ever run into
oh,
someone that went to college with me, they're always like, "Wah, wait, what's up?"
that's awesome. That's a great nickname.
Eventually,
Where'd you go to
about a
school?
year in, St. John's College in Santa Fe.
Okay, there we go.
But yeah,
R
about a year in, I let people know that it was just not really true, but it stuck. And once it's stuck, there's no getting out of it, you know?
Yeah, that you're
So
in you're in it. You're in it. Once you've
yeah.
committed that, you're in it. Do I have any delay or anything
Yeah.
on me talking to you?
Yeah, there's the slightest delay in the video, but again, it really doesn't matter because you're coming through clear and it
Okay,
films separately, it uploads it separately, so
okay,
it
that's
always
fair.
ends up being crystal clear. So,
Good.
um, well, but before we spend all day talking about names
Okay,
and
well, yeah.
everything that under the sun, which we could do, whatever. Thank you for coming on,
You're
Mr. Tom
welcome.
with the TH Harrison. Yeah. So I ended up running into you through a podcast kind of aggregation service, and
Mhm.
you sent in a message, and I thought you were interesting. I thought I'd reach out and see, you know, kind of what you've done, and I thought we could talk about your history. And we got a phone call before this, so we got a couple different paths we can walk down. But just kind of, who are you, and what do you do, and what's up with pizza, in your life?
That is,
So,
I appreciate that, Andrew, and I'm so glad to meet you. And it is funny how in this business, even though you and I have not met before, that we were immediately able to have a conversation because of the food business. We had an automatic connection that I think is one of the most um, wonderful structures to have a connection to because we work and worked many times in a I don't know if we could ever call it a high trust team, but I do think that when we're in service, it is an orchestration. And I remember when I was working in pastry at a place called Charleston Place here. At the time, it was with Orient Express, is who we were with at the time before it became Belmont and then purchased after. I remember admiring so much going after my part was done because I started early. Obviously, pastry we started really early and would be done, 3 or 4 before service started, and then after getting prepped for the next day and getting ready, I would go and stand actually over in the garmonnage section and just watch the ballet, the dance that Michelle Weaver, the executive chef at the time, was doing. And that is the reason I bring that up is just because it automatically makes people have a connection if they know that you have been in the weeds before, automatically, you're going to have a connection. Not that you've ever been, but I have been very, very many
Oh
times.
no, we'll talk. Yeah, I have been in some serious weeds. I actually was reminded of a horror story, but I don't want to derail us. I'll come back to that.
We're all good.
Yeah.
We're good. So the uh, my great grandmother was a food service director at a high school in Atlanta in the I guess would have been 1930 something 1930ish because she was born in 1895, so she would have it would have been well into that, and so into the 40s and 50s, and then when my dad was in school at that school, she was his food service director. So his grandmother was what ran the kitchen. So I've always had, growing up in Atlanta around her, I've always had an affinity for that. And an odd reason is that my dad took to cooking. It was a natural for him, and we enjoyed many 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 years of that world. And I learned a tremendous about the school business. I mean the food service side of the school business back from those days, and just along the line, when I was in college, Andrew, I went to Armstrong State, woo, down in Savannah, which is now part of Georgia
Hey.
Southern. So it's and the first job I had in the industry was as a line cook at a Mexican restaurant. So in addition to playing soccer and I know all the bad words in the kitchen. I know all the bad words on the proper football field, soccer field,
Hmm.
and kind of fell for it because it had boundaries and it had guardrails, and you had the freedom to kind of move around a little bit and had some wiggle room, but there were recipes to follow, and there were time frames, and there were prep lists. And as an interesting note, I just ran across in a box an old prep list that I had back from many many years ago. And I kept just a small spiral in my chest pocket that I kept on my prep in, and my secret recipes and all that sort of stuff. So it was fun to see that. And through that, when I got back to Atlanta, I went on with Brinker, which is Brinker International out of Texas, and I worked in the Chili's concept. And by that time, I was very I loved the fact that we could go do work, that we could care for people, that we could serve them, that we could have fun, and then we would leave with a big pile of money in our pocket. It was very attractive, and I'm sure
One of the things that attracted me too. Yes.
it is
Yeah.
that role. And you could always tell after service, if we were at a went to an establishment after we were closed and went to the next establishment, and you could always tell who the people were in the business were because they had a big a big wad of ones that hopefully some fives in there, maybe a 20 or two, depending on what it is. So that led me, and just as a quick summary of that led me into understanding that there was that what I was seeing in the industry was just that which I could see from where I stood. And through that, I met some people that were in a different part of the business. They had this thing called a food distributor. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's most of us have. And there's a whole nother world. I mean, of people that are delivering your groceries. That you have a salesperson. There is a customers. There's a whole bunch of other people that are involved in getting stuff properly at proper temperature, keeping it at proper temperature, and getting it to whatever restaurant or institution that you're at. And then I found out that each of those boxes that came in were a different company most of the time, all the way from our washware to our silverware, all the way to the chicken and to the ketchup,
Mhm.
and found that there was this hundreds of manufacturers, hundreds of other companies, hundreds of other people that were responsible just for getting stuff made and back down to me. And then once you see the manufacturer, they have people that are working with them. They have regional managers, and they have district managers, and they have area managers and vice presidents of sales and that sort of thing. So by that time, Andrew, I was kind of pretty much stuck because I was able to work when I needed to. I was able to work as hard as I wanted to. I was able to make as much money as was reasonable from the place, the expectation. But it also allowed me time to be with my new growing family. Even though, yeah, man, I worked the Saturdays and Sundays and
Mm.
Christmas and Thanksgiving. I'd same as probably you. Most of us have done that sort of stuff. Uh, but but
New Year's Eve a couple days ago, yes.
Yes, it was nice, and as I moved into what we called at the time the food broker side of the world, that allowed me to actually go and meet people like you and say, hey, what's your main problem? What's going on with your restaurant that you need me to help? And these are the products that I have that can help with that. So I was just kind of giving a quick thing that has nothing to do really outside of my
Sure.
world, but our connection is
Mhm.
such that is how I ended up in this kind of third phase, which is the um, what I guess we would call the management merger acquisition part of my life, with all of those brands that I've worked with over all these years.
Mhm. Interesting, yeah. Did you ever think that you would enter this industry and stay in this industry? Was it a surprise?
Yes, I was surprised. It kind of got its hooks into me, just
Mhm.
because I think it played to my, I don't know if you can say personality or my
Hmm.
action level, which a lot of us, we don't. There's not really many
Oh, yes.
slothy
Our
servers around. I mean,
prevalent
we have
undiagnosed ADHD, yes. Yeah.
yeah, I wish we had. I probably wouldn't have been as good in the business if we had Ritalin back in that day. It would have been. It would have taken a lot. But if you think about that, Andrew, from the point of view that someone feels like they are not fulfilled in their current world, and I'm not recommending anybody get into the business other than if you have
Mhm.
an attachment to it, because one of the neat things that I have noticed over the years with my kids is that there are people that do a vocation, and there are people that have an avocation, which I may not be all right on the complete use of the word. But what I mean is, Andrew, after I finish today and what I was doing before you and I got on here, I was in the kitchen and I was working on some new
Sure.
recipes. I was working on some new bread actually. And then when we're done, I'm going to go play with food. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go play with food today. And that's when it hooked me, when I realized that, well, I was already coming home and doing that. Cause obviously, my dad cooked, my grandmother cooked, my great grandmother, it was an easy thing to do. And I've had the benefit of having, my wife and kids are cooks. I mean, good ones. So when we're here, it is like having, four cooks in one place. I used to run the kitchen, but I got,
Literally too many cooks in the kitchen, yeah.
yeah, I got run off. I got run off and let them take it from there. And they're doing a fine job. And they sent me outside. I would just give you the laugh that one of the things that they did that I knew they had officially bought in was when they bought me for Christmas two doesn't matter, 2, 3 years ago, they got me a pizza oven, which made me have to go outside, cook the pizzas, and keep the beer, properly chilled, and then be able to. Then everybody comes out and joins me. So that was kind of a funny thing. It's a funny thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a thoughtful gift. It's probably something that you've enjoyed and used,
Mm.
but it's outside. It's a little
I
bit away from the
It is. I was able to, and I'm a wonderful person in the kitchen. I don't ever pitch fits, or I've never thrown a pan or anything like that. I've said some bad words, but
Mhm.
not really. Nothing more than
Yeah,
nothing
but
greater than the situation.
and that's in the broken Spanish, so you gotta practice still.
Dude.
I am curious. There's something I've wondered about myself, and I kinda see it and sense it in you. I've often wondered if I would have been more suited to the back of house and just kind of ended up in the front of house due to the money. It's been a question in the back of my mind because I do like that productive element, and I always did feel kind of strange serving, like I wasn't doing some like that. I could have done more, and when I
Mhm,
found bartending, which has a little bit of that element, I
mhm.
fell in love. Like, I get to make drinks, I get to do something. Um, what why didn't you end up in that front of house position when you were making all that money at Chili's? Just curious.
It's a, so here is a, uh, in our world, they have a chef tournant. It's an old. I don't even know if anybody even has that anymore in any of it. And that is our guy. You know the guy. I know the girl that does that, and that's the one that if you need someone on saute, boom, they're scheduled. If you need someone on the pass, even working the pass on the other side, they're there. And I began a utilitarian approach to the business. So I would cook 3 4 days when we needed. I would bartender 2, and I would serve 1 or 2, and that allowed me. I knew
Mhm.
the I knew from signing the boxes from the distributor, signing the invoice for deliveries, all the way to cashing out the day. And that is where I
Mm.
found my joy. Is I cook. Got my fill of cooking, learned all those processes, got my fill of serving, got all those processes, and then went into the management side, which I disliked. I don't know, disliked. I wasn't as much a fan of the management side.
Thank you again for listening. If you're enjoying this show or getting any value from it, please subscribe to the show. It really does help us grow. As a side note, we are going from 1 episode a week to 2 episodes a week in 2026. So every Tuesday and Thursday. See you there. I can be honest here where I have done it where manager is like a courtesy title that is applied to your position, even though
Mhm.
you are more a glorified babysitter and have no
Yeah,
say, no responsibilities. And that I hate. I hate being in that position where you're just kind of there to watch, call the cops, write a report at the
yeah,
end, and do nothing. But I do
yeah,
like the current position I'm in where I can actually affect change, make decisions. Feels like move the needle. It's a corporate ish restaurant, but
yeah,
they have 4 locations. So yeah, corporate ish, but not really true corporate,
yeah.
So
That's a good. The micro chain's
pros
a
and
good place
cons.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah.
is a. That is a good. And Andrew, I know that when we do other parts of it, we sometimes get away from the having the cash in the pocket afterwards. But
Hmm.
I did enjoy it. I'll just give you a laugh. As I switched into training, so when I was at Brinker, I became a store opener, and that really, oh my gosh, man, that was so much fun because we did not sleep. We did not sleep, and then we didn't sleep, and it was just
Just leave it
weeks of
there. Yes.
yeah, it was it was just
Yeah.
and that is really where I found I could have stayed in that. I could have stayed in the training part. That was amazing.
Hmm.
But there is in my lived experience, it wasn't always as appreciated by ownership, by leadership. It was always something like, just get this done. It's like, well, if we're working now, I will tell you that Brinker had, and I've been in some amazing training systems. Brinker was one of the absolute best ones, and I still use things that I do. And that the service system that we used at the time. We had the 4-part aprons, and we had the 3-part tickets, and we had a system specifically for managing the tickets in our aprons. Then we had a specific system and pattern, cadence almost, for each table. So much so that as we were training and working, that we worked. Our goal was to make someone have the capability of managing their section, set of tables for those of us, set of tables that at any time, if we needed to switch aprons in the middle of service, we could do it. And we would automatically know where the ticket was, in the window. We would know where we were in the cadence of each table. And that is what hooked me, is that you can have systems,
Hmm.
deep rooted systems in relatively high trust teams that can be absolutely fun to be a part of when you're sitting at the end of the and when you're realizing at the end of the day when you get cut that wow, that was fun.
We did a thing. Yeah. No, I like that. I like, you see a lot of places, I've experienced dinner at some of them where you see things going wrong and it's not always clear
Mm,
what's going wrong. But when you have those systems, you can actually pinpoint, like, oh,
mm,
John is not on top of table 71. Where's his chit? Or like what's going on? Like you when there's a system, it helps you pinpoint the grain of sand in the microchip. It's like, okay,
Mm.
this is the problem. Uh, yeah, I like
That
that.
is a
I like
yeah,
that a
that
lot.
it is a good one. That's a good the sand in the microchip, that's a once it's in there. But that is true that most of us it took me years, Andrew, years to not to be able to disconnect from service when I'm sitting in a restaurant, to not even pay
Oh, sure.
attention, not not to say, "Wow, I wish I could tell someone that they should have wiped this silverware off before they put it on the table." And now I just my wife
There's
my
one
wife eventually
Yeah. There's one really fun restaurant in town, and I won't say where it's at, but the service is notoriously bad. But my wife loves it. Not for the service, but for the food, which
Yeah.
fair. And so when we go, I've accepted and resigned myself. I know it's going to be about 2.5 hours. I know we should probably order as soon as
Uh-huh.
they come by. If not, we're going to regret it. And it is delicious, and give them that. It just is what it is. I don't know if they like pool and they just don't know what's going on. I have no idea, but yeah,
Yeah, they could be, they could be doing it.
it's
It's a, Andrew,
yeah.
that's a funny description of wondering I almost wish sometimes that, restaurants would just say, "Look, man, our food is good. We do not have a service system. So when you get it, it's gonna be good, but we're not
Yeah.
sure if you're gonna get it at the same time." That leads me just a quick funny that I wanted to ask you, that I thought one time
Sure.
that there would be a service cadence that you could do when someone ordered ribs, someone ordered a steak, someone ordered a pasta, and someone ordered a salad, a full like a dinner salad with, with chicken on top or something like that. And knowing that that salad, from the grill is cooking the chicken. Obviously, the guy's not making the salad. The person's not making the salad yet. But I was wondering if you could have a restaurant where you said, when your food is properly prepared and at the proper temperature, we are bringing it to you to your table. Now, that means that the person with the
Mm.
salad might get that first, but the person with the ribs wouldn't get it till last, or the steak wouldn't get it really till last, but it would be served at the optimal temperature, but it would mess up the cadence of the tradition that is eating dinner together. What it did not work. I tried it and did not work.
No, I feel like I've seen that style, but you have to kind of rename it just to manage the expectation of the guests.
Mm,
So I helped open Radish and Rye when it first started in Santa Fe, and it was a
mm,
tapas essentially restaurant. So a bunch of well, they didn't call it tapas because it was like whiskey and kind of Western theme. So it was a bunch
mm,
of small bites, and the verbiage, if I remember, because it's been about 6 years at this point, was all these on this side of the menu, which most people would order. These are all small bites meant to be shared. Because our tables are a little bit smaller, we'll sort of send them out as they're ready. So it,
mm.
it made it seem like a fun collaborative event and not like, what we were really saying is we're trying to move you away from appetizer, entree, dessert, but we're not saying that. And all the servers are saying, you would want to have, 2 to 3 per person to sample everything, which is our way of saying like, order heavy, get the bill up, then kind of let the kitchen send out what's ready when it's ready. Like, um, so there are nice ways to frame that sort of departure. But if you're doing a traditional coursed meal, I don't think there's really any way around it.
Yeah.
You kind of have to coordinate on the kitchen side. You just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that, if we said
I'm,
it up
su-
front, if you told
I'm sure.
everybody up front,
Yeah.
let's we have no idea how it's gonna come out, but we know it's gonna come out, and it's gonna come out at the proper temperature. And but that I almost think that would almost be one that you and I would go to. You know what I mean? That would be something that you and I would go eat at. If we're all just, hey,
But to try
this
it.
place is, this
Yeah.
place is not normal service, but the food is good. But we have no idea whether,
Mhm.
whose food is going to come out at a time. That's something I think that people that love the food for the food. But if you want to go to, a fancy steak restaurant in Chicago or out in Omaha, or they got beef out in Omaha still, I heard that,
They do.
that would
They
be a fun
definitely
way to do
do.
that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like people do hate uncertainty more than novelty.
Mm,
So I think if you were upfront with them, they would be okay with that because they would know for certain that they're getting their food. It's just coming in a weird way. Whereas if you just did that without telling them, it would just cause chaos and
Oh my gosh,
mayhem in
dude.
the streets.
Yeah, that would be a good one to institute and then leave, just to
Right.
leave it in the wake. It's but there's, there's so many different, types of service now, and just the fact, one of my favorite things about service has been food trucks. To me, that has been, or food trucks, and also the restaurant. We have restaurants here in Charleston that, that, uh, it's you actually order at a counter. I mean, you go to the counter and order, and then you go get your table, and you have a thing, and they bring it to the table. And it's to me, that is one of the funnest, because then you don't have the attempt at a server trying to make a connection or to say, some sort of thoughts. But that gives you time to do that. That has been one of my favorite changes about restaurants. Is some of them are going to, even at some parts of the day, some day part, like lunch, you order at the counter, they bring it to you in the table.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, lunch is always such a difficult beast to deal with
Mm.
because it either is super slow 90% of the time, you're light staffed, and then the 2 days a year that you get hit hard, you just go down in flames, or it just has to be kind of slightly overstaffed. No one makes money. You like there's always something that gives in the day. Like you have to pay the day host more because she's not going to make enough, or he's not going to make enough to actually make it worth it. And there's always something the owners are paying, the employees are paying, or the food suffer. Like there's like something gives somewhere, and no one's ever happy about it. So I like
The
that idea. Like counter service makes a lot of sense. You
It
can
is.
drastically reduce the amount of people on shift. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get to,
Mhm.
you get to see that, that one of the things, that one of the reasons I'm enjoying this heck out of this conversation, and knew that we would, is that, that people that want to have, I know, again, I'm not saying that I'm recommending people go jump into the industry, because it can get crazy, but that there are some things about this industry that are actually really fun to deal with, and if someone has
Mhm.
a a need for multiple inputs in their life, the food business is definitely a thing, because we can do so many things, in this industry, and then if you find that you're good at one part, there's someone that can, make enough money to, maybe not in every place in the country, but most places, you can find a deal that you love, that, I mean, people that have been in the restaurant business that have moved into marketing, or that they have moved into promotion, or have moved into, and not even to get crazy and think about the actual different industries in our industry categories, like the ballparks. That's a huge business, all the way to food trucks, to
Mhm.
institutions, to having a kitchen at an AT&T building, like Sodexo and Aramark and all those cats do, from that, commercial contract management businesses, and then again, that gets all the way into that side of the business. So I knew that was one of the things that we had chatted about, that I really wanted to, that I thought seriously about before we talked, was just about
Mhm.
the thing
No, and
that.
oh no, please finish that. I'm sorry, I didn't
Oh,
mean to
it's
cut
it
you
is
off
okay.
there.
There is that little lag, that, just saying that there is a place for everybody in this business, I think, even if it's just, I
Mhm.
invested in a bakery, several years ago, and found that we had several of the people that we had on staff, were just working 2 days a week. They just wanted to get their fill. They just wanted to come and bake, and they would get in there at 6 o'clock, get their work done, get it all cleaned up. 2 o'clock, they're done. So yeah, I think that's open for everybody, Andrew.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I like thinking about it as a stepping stone, like you were mentioning. There's always a future path. But the more and more after we talked, I started going back and thinking about it. There is a way that you can make it work in the service industry if you really, really hone in on what's important to you and you apply discipline to yourself because the industry is
Mhm,
not going to do it. You can work 2 shifts a week at a restaurant pretty much anywhere in the world and make enough to slide by kind of.
mhm.
Um, but I was thinking, I relocated to Omaha from Tulsa and there's a married couple there that they worked pretty much 5 days a week. They saved their money. They bought a house. They work pretty much every week, 5 days a week, and they treat it like it's a regular 9 to 5 job. It just
Mm,
happens later in the evening. And there's a kid that I've got here now that started, God, he must have been 18, 19. But I mean, started as one of our server assistants, essentially a busser. And
mm,
he just kept working, asked if they could give him a shot. He's going to study the food menu. So we gave him a shot. He started being a server. He worked and worked. And then hey, I'm here. I can study the cocktails. Maybe I could be a bartender. And like homie's buying a house soon. Like he's been saving up and
nice.
he's got it inspected. And I think his last inspection, if I remember, didn't go well. So he's going to start looking again. And it was a pain dealing with the bank and me back and forth, asking our payroll company to pull different reports because it just doesn't look like you have regular earnings when you're service
Mm.
industry. But I mean, we got enough documentation that he got approved for a loan, and like there's a path forward in this life, but only if you add in some discipline somewhere.
True. That
But
is, I think that that's a wonderful way to look at it. That we get disciplined in the business, whether we are disciplined or not. It's going to happen. But
oh
I
yeah,
love the idea. I love the idea you're saying that having discipline in your world in an industry that is not known for having disciplined disciples in our
oh yeah.
industry. We know those
No,
and
I'm I'm saying it as a positive thing, and I'm looking back to myself 7 years ago, like wagging my finger, like, "What are you doing,
right.
homie? You got to do something." I there's a lot that has changed in my life, but meeting my wife has definitely improved everything greatly because it's
There we
like
go.
having that outside influence of like maybe you could do a little bit more, maybe you could try a little like some people succeed with self discipline, and some people need an external source. And I was definitely the latter sort.
Oh
So,
gosh. Yeah. Well, just
yeah.
full disclosure, as they say, that is what attracted me
Mhm.
to the business is the systems. Literally, that
Mm.
is one of the things that hooked me into the business. And that was that there are systems. Now, I think that I kind of fell into it with Brinker, one of the best training systems, I think. Um, but on the level of thinking like Marriott, that level of training, and then moving with Orient Express, that was a interesting. I loved their world because we had in the hotel, we had, regardless of your position, you had the opportunity to serve a guest if you were walking through doing something and they had something that was and most of us had a almost like a monetary boundary, meaning that if it's something that's under $50, just fix it. Don't make them wait.
Mhm.
And
Make it
and and
happen
it,
for the guest.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it allowed us to serve. And what it did is that it attracted people that like that. And then as our team grew, it's no different, Andrew, than taking the long way home and getting somebody's dishes off the table, man. That's really what I think is so attractive is for those of us that do like and I know it's kind of a trope now saying serving people and that, but I mean, that's what we
Mhm.
have been doing, serving people for all of these years.
Yeah. It's interesting. If you were to dig into that, like just kind of play it out a little bit more, was it that you had the ability to fix it, that they trusted you with responsibility that kind of allowed you to go that extra mile? Was it the
Yes.
training? Like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say
So,
and that the
and
ability to take
it's
care of
always
people,
and.
it kept me from hiding. And I'm not a hider, but it kept me from doing something to avoid being in a position that I couldn't handle or couldn't help. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to move, from the pastry up and walk around the front of the house and try to find somebody that needs me to help them. But in an entire hotel, you run across people all the time, especially when the hotel that I'm talking about is Charleston Place, and it was the regular place that any star that was in town stayed at that hotel. And it was, we were forever seeing everybody, literally just, and you couldn't imagine the people that would come through. And we had kind of it wasn't unwritten, it was spoken, but we treated, we never even acted like there were anybody other than just me and you. It was a very fun environment to be able to care for people and take care of them and have the, uh, I'd say guardrails, I guess, is the best way to do it. That if you get outside of that guardrail, then you have a. But we learned what to say to someone when we were outside. That is outside of my, capabilities. Be still. I'm going to go find Andrew, and he is. I will assure you that I will not do anything else until I bring Andrew to you to take care of you.
Yeah. I like that. We call it guest contracts. It's a similar idea. Whether it's like, let me go talk to the manager and I know they're going to want to hear this. Or even like, can I have a side of ranch with this? And it's like the guest wants something and you are the last one to hear it. Like you have a responsibility to go get it done, get it back, get the person back before you do anything else. So it's a contract between you and them.
It is.
Essentially.
It is.
Yeah. No, I wonder, do you have any stories, like something fun that happened or something that you remember from that time, something you took care of that was like, I did really well that time?
Oh my gosh, that's a good. I don't know why I didn't think that's a good question. The I will have to take a second to really think, and that is an indicator of that I have so many. I'm trying to pick the best one,
Oh yeah, sure,
which is
sure.
actually that. So the one I would say being able to make it, and this will not go out too far, I know, but being able to make it through a teacher's workday, when you know that day, that the teacher's workday, when you get 12 tops, you get 3 12 tops to take care of. And one of the things that I would say overall, without a specific instance, is being able to maintain a demeanor of empathy for them coming, that they're hungry and they want to eat. So I would say that if I could maybe aggregate all of the things that I think that I did well, it was recognizing that someone needed something that I was able to provide to them, and that was the comfort of knowing that I'm not going to let their tea run out. I'm not gonna forget to order their broccoli. But I would think that executing the things that I was asked to do is one of my favorite things about it, because there was a system, and I was able to go, as fast as the system would be able to go. So I don't know that I have exactly one story. Hopefully I think of one in a minute, but it's a
Oh yeah, of course.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but that is, and I don't feel
Well,
put on the
well,
spot. That's
no, that's fine. You asked me my name and I'll forget it on the spot.
uh,
I was hoping we could pivot because I did want to ask you the Pizzeria and Enzo show. Like,
mm,
when did that start, and what was kind of the genesis and idea behind all that?
I appreciate you bringing that up. That started around 2009, believe it or not. The
Mhm.
the show actually came from a series of incidents, just things actually just kind of came together. The original show that we had set up was, we had my wife and I had a business here, and I did cooking demonstrations and cooking classes, teaching people how to cook Southern cooking, because there's a lot of people that are not from here that came. So we had a tremendous amount of fun doing that, teaching people how to do that. And that was kind of right too. So I would have been 2006, 2007 ish, right in that time period. It's kind of before the big chef explosion. I mean, we still knew Wolfgang Puck and we still knew Emerald, and we knew all of those people, but that was, right when Sean Brock was coming around here in Charleston, and expanding out into, he expanded his world out to out into Nashville, and we had so many chefs that were just absolutely amazing in this industry here in town, just in this town. So there was this new thing called YouTube that was coming around, and there's this new thing called podcast that was coming around, and the show came about from a period of time where I was traveling on Southwest Airlines. And have you ever flown Southwest Airlines?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so you know it
I
is
have.
a absolute it is a roll of the wheel who you're going to sit next to. Now, obviously, you can't decide who
Mhm.
you're going to sit next to at Delta, but the true fun of Southwest Airline was just people were going to filter in. If you remember, they used to have a queue that you would stand in, and you would have your number, and you would go sit wherever you wanted to. And over this period of time, I was meeting people, Andrew, that were amazing. I was meeting so many people. I met a a couple that were in their 70s that were surgeons. They were surgeons for I don't know if you call them doctor surgeons. I mean, animal surgeons, doctor surgeons, animal surgeons.
Like
But like,
veterinarians
yeah,
or
but like
sort
it's
of,
like a
yeah.
veterinarian
Yeah.
surgeon. And he was
Okay.
they had a practice together. He was a exotic fish surgeon. And so I sat with these two people and listened to them tell me the story about how you take the fish, the exotic fish, it comes into the little lab that they have, and it's a little just like a little aquarium, and they begin administering the anesthesia to the fish by putting the anesthesia in the water, which the fish breathes. It gets
Mhm.
sleepy. They turn him over into a little gurney, do the do the surgery while the water's pouring on him, and then when he's done, roll him back out, and they reduce the anesthesia, and then the fish, swims around, does his thing. And I began searching for ways to bring that story home to tell my family about it and friends, because I think it's a longer story, but that's a fun one of the things I. Um, as I was going along, I was meeting so many. I met when I was flying from Houston. I met an astronaut he was probably 75. I met the sergeant major for the United States Army, sat next to me. The astronaut sat next to me. I sat next to a professional wrestler. Got me. I can go on. The fellow who started Local Palette here. Um, so I started looking for ways to bring that back and tell the stories to my family. And even though I'm talking a lot on this, I talk a lot, but I listen the other 80% of the time so that I can have not too many crazy things to say. And I had a kind of a thought in 2019 to begin making the show around as if I sat next to you on a Southwest flight. I would see your logo for a restaurant, or I would see that you have Tyson Foods, or you have some such, or we were going to Chicago for the NRA. And I began meeting all of just out of the blue, began meeting all these people in the food business and sitting next to them. So the format is part of what this show came into. Was we sat next to each other on a plane and began talking about the business and those things that we would talk about, like being that, like we're doing right now. This is a very similar type of, you and I would have this conversation if we were sitting next to each other, because we would
Just
talk
roll it
eventually.
back. Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, we would. I mean,
Yeah.
we would talk about those things. Now we would talk about sports, and we would talk about drinks, and whatever else we would talk about. But that is where the show kind of came into being, and we are going in the 6th year now. And after a bit of a hiatus, we have a new format coming out, here in a couple of weeks. So I appreciate you asking about that. It's
Exciting.
it
Yeah.
is, we've got to meet. It's fun for me because I know you. I don't know you at all, but I know who you are because we're in the business, and we could work
Sure.
together and know each other that way. And that has been it has been an absolute blast to hear people talk about things in the business. You ever think, I never thought about that. I never knew people actually thought about that, or what are we going to do with the garbage. That there's people that there are people that are creating systems that are able to take, and I say garbage meaning the scraps of food and stuff that we have to throw out. And that's a becoming a very big I don't know if it's a rally point, but a lot of people are talking about the amount of food that we have to throw away. I mean, that. I mean, maybe your
Oh, yeah.
restaurant doesn't, but we have to do that stuff. And so I know I got away from that, but it's
Yeah.
but the podcast part of it with the Petrie and Enzo show has to be. There's a little bit more behind it, but it's a little bit more of a story about how the name, because the name is odd, Pizzeria and Enzo,
Mhm.
and I'll try to keep it under under 50 words. It was very simple. I had a new phone, and I was going to with Siri. I have an Apple. I was going, and I got to be careful because if I say something, she'll try to jump in, and just like they did a minute ago. That I was going to see a friend of mine, Soraya, who owns a marketing company here in Charleston, and I called over to her and said to her that, hey, Soraya, I was sending her a voice text. Hey, Soraya, I'm going to be there in a few minutes. Tom. And the text that was written was, hey, pizzeria, do you have a mom? It got me. So I sent her,
Heck
got me.
yeah.
I sent her, and this is going, I know you're thinking, oh my God, where is this going? I sent her that text just as it was because it was too ridiculous that's what it was. And the connection to that is that I had made a very personal decision that I'm happy to share now, is that I wanted to choose to be around people that take action, that have a tendency towards taking action, that have a to like use the SAT word, like a proclivity for taking action, not just doing something for doing it. And Soraya and I had become friends in a previous work with the Oyster Festival here in Charleston, and it was from a little bit of a prank on my part. There was two people that were supposed to be there. One was a chef named Enzo, who was a wonderful, wonderful man. I knew him for many years, and he did not show up at 6:00 a.m. when we were supposed to be there. So I met Soraya and Jenny, and they said, "Oh, well, you must be Enzo," and I, as we would, I said, "Yeah, I'm Enzo," and I played that
Exactly how I
out
got
for
my nickname. Yeah.
exactly. And so I played it out the whole day until it ran into a very good friend of mine, Harry Seal, and they said, "Hey, have you Enzo's doing great work?" And he was like, "Enzo, what are you talking about?" And of course, then I was busted and became fast friends. And you're thinking, how in the heck did that connect all those things? So in the thought about being surrounding myself and being a person that has a tendency towards action, I told her when I got there, I said, Soraya, and of course we talked about the text. I said we should start a podcast together, this new thing called the Pizzeria and Enzo Show. Pizzeria for Soraya and Enzo from me for the joke I played on her. And she said, thanks, no. But in about 10 minutes, Andrew, she sent me the logo for the Pizzeria and Enzo Show. 10 minutes. And I thought, okay, now I'm stuck because I put my damn foot in my mouth here and I stepped in it. And so that very month, which was December 2019, I set the show up. I went with Anchor first because it was free and it had good software. And
Sure.
that's kind of where it came from. So I got in. I know that got into the 75 word range, but that's how that craziness is. But I said it, yeah, because it's meant around action. It's meant around doing something you're not necessarily comfortable doing. Because it took me, I think you and I were laughing about this. It took me probably 25 or 30 episodes before I could just stand to hear myself talk. Like, yeah, well, good Lord, what are you?
Oh yeah.
What are you doing, man?
I still, every once in a while I'm like, oh, that's me. But yeah, you get used to it. But yeah, I am glad to hear that. I was going to ask if you had shelved the show because it seems like you really haven't published this year. So I wasn't sure the plans or what was going on, but glad to hear that it's coming back, new format.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I did the last one probably January, February, I think, of last year. Of 2025, and some really amazing things happened from those first 77 podcasts that led me to have access to some work that I have been in a very, very deep dive over the last 8 months that has taken all of the time that I had allotted to that. And now that has come to fruition, we have a whole slew of amazing people that are gonna be on the show here coming up this year. So I appreciate that you noticed that.
Awesome.
And it's a lot, man. You know this. It is not just sitting here yapping for a few minutes and then push and publish. There's things that we have to do, and there's systems that we have to follow. So that's why that is where I have that gap that we talk about in the resume will be
sure.
and that's how we do it, man.
No, no. Have you found, because something that I've found has really kind of opened my eyes and really kind of surprised me in this whole journey. I did not realize how much in my own head I was. And I've
Oh,
really fallen in love with just how interesting people are. And you don't slow down and talk to people these days, but this is kind of a forced format where you have to, and you actually get to listen and hear what the other person's going through. It's like every time I do a podcast, I'm nervous before, don't know why. I'm like, this person doesn't know me. I don't even have to publish this if it doesn't go well, but I'm always nervous. And then I meet the person, and then afterwards, I'm like on cloud nine. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
we share that. I go through
Yeah.
the same things, and it is uh, a super. I like the word neat. It's a neat way to meet someone, and I have found that over this last 6 years of having to actually talk and make sense, to say words in an order that the other people know what the heck you're trying to communicate, has made it so that I have learned, and I say I am still learning how to listen to someone talk and not be forming an answer in my mind, to just
Mhm.
taking in the information that they're giving and trying to just kind of document it and maybe put an anchor to it or a connection anchor to it, or and that has made my entire life more palatable of communication, because I have to tell people now. I almost have to say, kind of just like when you asked me about the idea, I wasn't thinking of that. I was listening to you 100%, trying to form, okay, what am I going to say next? Because I got to say something smart, or I got to use a word like proclivity. That's 2 points. I had that on my bingo card for 2026 to use the word proclivity in a sentence. And so that has I share that with you. I no longer have the nervousness part, but it's only other than the nervousness of meeting a new person. It's I
Mhm.
think this is such a wonderful format for people to have communication about things that they think are neat, even if it's Star Trek or if it's crocheting, or no matter what it is. This is a wonderful way for for many people that don't interact with the, I hate to say the public, that don't interact with the public all day every day,
Mm.
to be able to have a to
Sure.
be able to have communication, but also have the safety of the microphone, the safety of the camera, so that you can hide behind that. Not you, but one can kind of have a little bit of a buffer where they might not normally walk up to, they might not normally walk up to someone and say hello. But if you're in the restaurant business, we do that all day, every day. And not to say the restaurant business, I mean the
Mm.
food service world. We are always always on food service time. It seems like. Well, say in my side, in
Well,
my new
there's
side of the world, it is.
for sure, yeah. There is a difference though in the podcasting scene. You do go up and you talk to a lot of people in serving context, in even a little bit more in bartending context, but there's not going to be a moment where you sit and talk to one person for 20 minutes
Mm,
unless something like very strange is happening, like
mm,
I feel like you almost get this like short form TikTok version of communication as your server, because it's like 60 seconds swipe, 60 seconds swipe. And then that is better than the majority of people these days. Have you ever read of Brian Duff's book, Restaurant in the Objects,
no,
it was
no. What is
Object
it?
Lesson series? Brian Duff,
Got it.
super super great guy. He's a political scientist. He wrote a whole book about restaurants. A lot of it is centered on how in kind of the modern society people have fled from in real life, or at least in real time conversation, and it's all kind of been replaced by different text conversations, so
Mm,
texts and actually like written words. And a lot of this generation feels like that form of communication is safer because you have a moment to think and respond. And I'm thinking about what you're talking about, kind of riding the crest of now as you're talking. Like it's something that is itself a skill that kind of dies if you don't exercise it. You know what I
mm.
mean?
I have I did have stress about this. I say that I don't really have the the not fear, but the apprehension of speaking to someone. But I did have a little bit of a anxiety about it that I haven't talked on a microphone in months, other than the 600 freaking Zoom meetings that I've been on, which is
Mhm.
the thing. But so I actually was walking around, and my wife was who is a professional speaker, was saying, you're doing the right thing by walking around and exercising. And I didn't eat today, so I didn't drink any milk. I didn't have any dairy. I didn't have, not that that's a thing, but that. So I was thinking this whole time, it's like, what am I going to sound like? Am I going to sound like a goober because I haven't really practiced? But I will tell you that I am. I will say thank you to you, Andrew, for this conversation, because it has you have made it so easy for me to kind of step right back in and yap for a minute with my sibilant, my
Absolutely.
P there, my plosive.
I well, it happens. I've got to say thank you for coming on. It was a real pleasure getting to learn a little bit about you, and it was fun getting to talk to you. If no one's told you, so your co-host, or I don't know if it's co-host fully, Doug Smith,
Yeah,
but
Doug.
he's yeah. So Doug Smith, Thom Harrison, two names that are just impossible to Google. So like, good luck trying to find anything out about you by Googling you.
That's awesome.
What it's really it's great to anytime I meet someone who's in the industry in any aspect, I'm always just stoked to see that there's longevity here. There are things that people can do, like there's a path forward essentially. And
There is a
I
path
did want to
forward.
ask if you're oh yeah, if you're okay with it, will you tell us kind of about what you got coming out, some big news, or is it all just kind of in the background and be ready 2026?
It is for today. It's in the background because there
Fair
are
enough,
some.
yeah.
I will say, and I'm talking about from the podcast about who's going to be on, because it says the funny thing is that if one pays attention, then there are people crossing paths all the time. And I say that because, and it almost seems like we set this up. When I was with Chili's, I had a table of usually 6 to 8 that would come in, and they began sitting with me. They would ask to sit with me. This is a group. It was a group of, there was six guys, and there was 2 girls that were part of this company that was walking distance from the Chili's that I was in, and they were food brokers. And so I served them. I didn't know that's what they were. I had no idea what that was, but I took care of them for many months. And eventually, the fellow who was the vice president came to me and said, "Hey, are you open to seeing the other side of what this business is?" Like, well, sure. Tell me about it. So I went and met with them, and then I found out that there was this whole other service. So I don't serve guests anymore. I serve Andrew and his chef. I serve Kim and her sous
Mm.
chef. You got me. So I'm still so I still get the joy and the satisfaction that I love of serving people. But it just happens to be that that my role now is serving the people that serve the people that I used to serve, and having a long distance relationship with them from only seeing them often one times. But there are some really neat things that are coming up for us with some guests that there's, as there's a lot when you get into a little bit different level of guests that have been on other shows. And I saw, oh my gosh, I saw that you met Casey Anton.
Yeah,
That
no,
do
I saw
you
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Spark Consulting. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a
oh my
fun
gosh,
conversationalist. I
Casey.
really
Oh my
enjoyed. Yeah,
gosh, she was so good. I met Casey, gosh, probably 2, 3. I think she was on in like 2022, I think. With and
I think
amazing.
2023, if I remember.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
might have been.
maybe.
But
Yeah,
an amazing. So those are the kind of people that we get to meet. And I know I feel like I'm avoiding the question about the future, but there are some really neat things that
it's okay.
that 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 will that will that will come to us. And I will tell you also, when you mentioned Doug, Doug and I met, and then we were working to, I say working together. He was with another company. He owns another company that's a consulting business that is uh, very focused on taking care of supply chain resources management for thinking, all the way from forecasting the purchase of products. And after a period of time, I had him on the show, and we Doug and I already loved each other. I mean, I already loved him, and Jackie, I already known him forever. And we that's when we started playing around with it, and started talking to people, and that led to some connections, which I was going before, that I didn't know that the people that were sitting at my table were going to be somebody that would direct my career, just like the way that you and I are doing here. Hopefully that anyone that's listening to this would say, well, Andrew and Tom have done some pretty cool things, and they're in the industry, and they were able to get married, and they're able to have things and do things that you don't normally think about coming from, because it's the only front facing part. The only people that most of us see is the server or a busser, maybe a bartender. You got me? So
Yeah.
there's so many other people that are supporting that group. So I do agree, and I appreciate that you allowed us to even go into that thought about that there is a way forward in this industry, and that there are things we know with the AI that are going to take over some back end part. The forecasting, I'm already using a bot that's forecasting stuff, man. It is freaking crazy cool. And there's going to come a
Yeah.
time where we don't have to do inventory anymore, even though I don't know what owner is going to not want to do inventory. There's going to come that time, and there's going to
Hmm.
be the automated, with the chips and all our food. So when we go do our inventory, that it reconciles against our inventory and makes the order for us. All we have to do is approve it and send it to US. Just go performance, whoever it is, or Shamrock, Benny Keith out on your neck of the woods out there, and
Yeah. We're Benny
so
Keith out here. So,
okay, yeah, yeah. We've just met them. They just came here into the market, into North Carolina, and seemed like it's the same people. It's the same people that we've all. There's
yeah.
just a different distributor. So good people trying to sell some groceries.
They'll drop off 2 to 3 days a week. They'll make it work. Yeah. Yeah.
That is a
They're good company. They kind of funny side story before we wrap up here.
please.
Our store was closed on January 1st. So, day after New Year's Eve, just to give a day of rest to the guests and to the servers. And it's good. I mean, it's the busiest night of the year. Most nights we do 100 to 150, and we did 400 covers. So, just
Woo, come
open to
on.
close, chaos. There's one person we didn't tell. It was Benny Keith. Yeah.
Oh
and
no.
yeah, so I got a text and I was at my house, and I normally don't look at my phone. It was a fluke that I did, and it was the driver. I'm glad I did. I live close, so I went and let him in, and just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of shoved all the refrigerable things in there and the freezer items right in the freezer on top to where it's clear that this is the delivery, and left a note for the morning crew and was like, I'm sorry. But they're the ones that put it away anyways. And at least this way, it's not the steaks rotting out on the
Oh
sidewalk
god.
or something.
Oh my gosh.
Because Benny Keith actually contracts, they charge us, but they deliver our steaks for us. So
Do you
that's
guys
how we
use a
get
branded?
that many steaks.
What brand do you guys use? Are you
We
like
contract
cover?
the Oh yeah, I don't mind it. No, it's a company out of Chicago. Although they do source their beef from just all sorts of areas. So we even have a guest who notoriously, well off, and he is known to sell to them. But L&L out of Chicago. So
Okay.
big
I
time
don't.
guys. They do great. So
That's good.
prime beef, some amazing American Wagyu, some really awesome Japanese A5 Wagyu. That's worth its weight in gold, and they charge accordingly. But
Yes.
steaks are great.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
yeah.
There's Allen Brothers has a big presence down here in the coast, out of
Mm,
Chicago, and I don't know really who else advertises. There's not many people that advertise who they get their steaks from, but knowing someone like your steakhouse is that people knowing where the steak comes from. We had one thing I'd love to introduce you to on this is Steve Whitmire. Steve Whitmire is the owner of Brasstown Beef, which is in Brasstown, North Carolina, which is kind of in the area where Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina all come together. and they have
Okay.
an amazing family farm up there. Steve was introduced to me through Doug. Doug actually did some work for him, and they produce, American, it's straight up American beef. This is the good. So, but he's a wonderful guy. I'd love to introduce, and I'd love to introduce you to Doug too, to have him because he
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
I feel like it is a fun thing. I feel like I got some interesting stuff about me. I've had a cool life. I mean, I've done some cool things, and I do enjoy sharing other people's cool things. Like, and Doug is one of those people. He's done some really neat things. He's owned a factory. He's been a food broker. He's been a salesman for. I don't want to say. I think it was Cisco. Maybe it was U.S. He'll fuss at me if I
One of
got
the
the
big
wrong
guys.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those guys.
No.
And I'd love to introduce
No,
you
and
to Doug and meet him.
it'd be interesting to talk to someone in logistics, especially someone who helps people with logistics.
Oh
Like
gosh.
that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's those are some some folks, and I know I don't know if this will stand, but I'd love that if you were open to it to doing this in reverse too. I don't know if we talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because
100%.
yeah.
Well, why don't we pull this to a close and then
Okay.
we'll talk about that. For the guest who is listening at their home and who's in the car who is thinking, I want to know more about this Tom guy. Where could someone go to find out more about you and what you do? And where are you on the interwebs these days?
I am. I do have a TikTok channel, by the way. It's I mean, it's not. It's
Heck
just
yeah.
a play. So yeah. So the main way that I would say would be the Pizza and Enzo show has a website, and that's where things about the show will be. I don't know, other than LinkedIn, other places that I have any of my world out there, because it's so much of what I do is not publishable. I don't really tell
Mm,
so I don't really have a lot of things to, other than, not that it's like secret, but that's people just like you guys. There's some things that you have, you don't want everybody to know that you make your own ranch, or to make them,
no,
they don't want to
no.
think that you don't make your own ranch. And
No, and I'll tell anyone. Our Adobe dressing has some honey and some parm in it. There are people with allergies, but I'm not going to tell you the proportions. I'm just not.
true, that is.
Yeah.
But those are probably the two best places to catch up with me. On LinkedIn, of course, from the business side. If and I'd be happy to catch up with anybody there. There's a full DM. I don't know if they call it DMs on LinkedIn, but a messaging platform in there that'll do that. And then of course
Yeah.
the show. And I would on my part of closing is that one of the reasons I was excited for us to talk was that Andrew, you were looking to have a different view of the industry, that there is a way forward in the industry, that there is positive things that happen, that it's not all what it looks like on TV, that there is work and there are amazing people that are working their butts off every single day, no matter what. And there are owners that we know that are working their butt off every single day. And so I appreciate you having that mindset. I was really excited to talk to you, and hopefully I have met some of those, at least given somebody an inkling that somebody like, I say somebody like me could actually, have a life in the food business.
Sure. And if anyone out there is doubting that, someone like me can have a life in the food business. And if you knew me at 21, you would not think that I was going to make it. But here I am. I'm still here, still doing it.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
Right. If you were listening at home and you didn't have the ability to write that down, I'll have a link in the show notes to his LinkedIn and the Pizzeria and Enzo show. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Man, it's awesome.
And who's
Andrew.
your friend's
Thanks so
name
much.
right there?
This
Of
is
course.
Beatrice.
Who's that dog?
That's
Beatrice.
Beatrice.
Zeus
She's
is
a
in the
sweet
other
dog.
room, so. Oh, I
She
could
feels
see.
the-
I could see Beatrice.
Oh, she can feel the energy.
So,
Um,
isn't
Slow
Beatrice the name of the love in Dante in Dante's Inferno?
I do
That's
not
the
know
name of
that.
his love, right?
I do not.
I think so. I think that's his idealized love that the whole the Divine Comedy is all building towards. But
Look at you getting fancy now, English lit.
too fancy for today. All right, I'm gonna call that a wrap. Thanks. Thank you again for listening to Serves You Right. Episodes of this show come out every Tuesday and Thursday. If you have not had a chance, please go and check out the website, servesyouRightPod.com. You can find all past episodes and a contact form in case you need to get in touch with me. And soon, so much more. All right, that's about it. Thank you.